What's up, everybody? This is Michael at Fouch Fabs. Yesterday I was working with my partner on a job site and we was putting in a drop-in sink, and he said, I think this is what we're going to have to go with for my wife. She just don't seem to trust those undermount sinks. And I'm like, well man, those things are strong. Don't you realize you could stand in those? He's like, yeah, I know. But people that don't work with this stuff every day and don't use silicone and all that, they have no idea how strong it is or how well it holds up. So what I want to do on this video is I want to show you how we mount our undermount sink. I'm going to drill the clip holes, and I'm going to put these clips in the holes and tighten them down to it. I'm going to silicone around the sink, and then I'm going to let that silicone dry overnight. Tomorrow morning, Gary and I will shoot the rest of this video, and I'm probably going to stand in this sink with the clips in it. I know that's not going to break it. Then I'm going to take these clips out of it, and I'm going to stand in it with just the silicone holding it. And right now I'm about 193.4 pounds. I know that's not going to break it. So then after all that, I'm going to get all these weights I got back here, which is probably 500, 600, 700 pounds. And we're going to start stacking it in here and see how much it takes before it gives with just the silicone. With the clips, we can stack it to the ceiling and it won't give, but I'll show you how strong it is. This sink doesn't fit this sink hole, but it's as close as I got, and I don't have time to cut a top, put the actual sink hole in it, polish it and all that just to make a video. So what I did, this is a top from a tear out that had a sink hole in it. As you can see, this is actually my showroom large veggie bowl sink. It's the one that I got that fits it close enough. You can see the red line here. And it'll work to show what we're showing for the video. The reality is, one of our actual sink hole cutouts with the actual sink would have more material, so it would actually hold stronger. So you'll see how tough this stuff is. So right now, the first thing I'm going to do is drill these pilot holes for these clips, and you guys can watch that. Then I'll dry it off. And then I'll put my silicone in, and then I'll put the clips in it and set it up and let it sit overnight, and we will do the fun stuff tomorrow. So let's get started drilling these clip holes right now. I'll try not to mess everything I got set up over here up. I don't have a shotgun mic yet, so we're using the lapel mic, so kind of got to stay in one place. So we're going to turn the water on. The water does a lot of the work for you when you're drilling these clip holes. These bits here, they're 40, 50, 60 bucks a pop, so you want to use water on it so you don't wear it out. We're drilling through quartz. This top is quartz, so it's not as hard to drill as granite would be. So we should get through this pretty fast, seeing that it's quartz. So here we go. All right, one thing I forgot to bring over here was a squeegee and some paper towels. So I'm gonna make my way over there and grab these. I just drilled 6 clip holes in this thing. If we were drilling it in granite, it wouldn't have went near as quick as it did in this quartz. Quartz is very, very strong, but when you're drilling or cutting or anything like that, it cuts a lot easier than stone would. So I've been wiping this down here, trying to get some of the water off of it. Now I'm gonna take this torch and I'm going to heat it up to get the rest of the water off of it. I'm not doing anything special here. I mean, we're on the bottom side, so you really don't have to worry about burning it or anything like that. Not that you would. It's really strong. As long as you don't hold it in the same place for like 2 or 3 minutes, you'll be all right. Anybody that's ever used silicone, they probably already know that you need a dry surface to get it to adhere properly. If you try to silicone something on a wet surface, you are not going to get the effect you want. take these clips out and stand on it. If I try to glue it on a wet surface, I'll probably fall right through it. I'm about totally dry here. You can see the darkness of the color fading away as it dries, and it looks lighter and duller. A lot of times I will wipe it with the paper towel while I'm drying. Now, water has a tendency to run away from the heat. It's just, I don't know, it acts like any person or anything would. It doesn't like the heat, I guess. So I think we're pretty much dry everywhere that we will be gluing. So we're nice and dry here. We're not super hot. This is you can see I can hold my hand on it. It does absorb the heat a little bit, but nothing crazy. Basically just drying it. It's not gonna make it stick any better than it would if you did it at home. So you see I've got my sink laid out here. The front and back lip, I don't have as much meat as I would normally have if I had done this sink cutout myself. But I've got enough to where I think it will still stick very, very well. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put this sink, I made sure the edges are dry. Nothing different or crazy about this sink. I don't want you to think I'm cheating or anything. We're gonna put it in here, line it up with these red lines that I put on it. So we're good here. We know it's gonna fit right. I'm gonna take my silicone gun. All this is Extra Bond 150 RTV silicone sealant. It's 100% silicone. Approved for cultured marbles, excellent adhesion to glass, windows, doors. It's just basic 100% silicone. Nothing crazy special about it. It's not super expensive. Don't ever use liquid nails on this stuff. Don't ever. If only for the reason that it is the ugliest adhesive that I've ever seen in my life. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Just don't use it, ever. Don't use painter's caulk when you're trying to make something hold together. Use painter's caulk if you want to fill in a hole or a reservoir and you want to paint it. Painter's caulk is not for holding stuff together. Use silicone. A lot of people don't realize how strong silicone is. It is one of the strongest things you could ever use if you use it right. And we know this sink isn't going in a customer's home or anything. It's just for this. So what you want to do when you're putting a sink in a customer's home, you want to get a nice bead of silicone on it. You want to make sure you've got a complete circle of silicone. Now once you put it on here and you press it down, that silicone is going to spread out a bit. What you want is no holes, no gaps. Because if you got holes and gaps, your water is going to get through and get in your cabinet and rot out the bottom of your cabinet, and that's going to be from installer error. Now I put a little bit of extra on this. It's going to help it hold more. But once again, I'm not cheating, because in a normal customer's house, I would put my one bead around it. I would put it in there, put my clips in and all that. Then once I finished the job and cleaned up, I'd put a secondary bead around the outside to make it look nice and clean and keep food, mildew and all that from sitting in there. But since it's not going in a house, I just went ahead and put a second bead around it here. I don't really care how pretty it is. So I'm going to set that on there. In a customer's house, I would put a C-clamp through this hole. Of course, it'd be the other side up. Put a block of wood across the stone, pull that C-clamp tight, tighten it down as tight as I possibly could to squeeze this tight, and then I'd put my clips in just like I'm going to do right now. Now in the customer's house, I'd be laying under the sinkhole in a pillow, putting these clips in. So that slid right down in there. I'll tap it to see if it can go anymore, and it can't. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down so I don't have to work my butt off while it's in the hole. Sometimes we got to put a shim in here to give us some, make it a little tighter. The physics of the thing is actually what holds it in place. Because once you put it in here, once you start pressing down, it pulls it at an angle and causes it to stay in place. You'll see tomorrow, once we start putting weight to this thing, how it works and how good they work. So I'm just going to snug that one down a little bit. And once I get them all in here, I will tighten them down really good. It's the first time I've ever really measured them out on top. Normally I go 2 inches back from my hole cut out, so I'm right on the edge of this, but I think it'll work just fine for us. So I've got 2 on this side. Another thing that's different from the customer's house, normally in the front, we'll put a block of wood in the front here so that the cabinet actually holds the weight. So it's actually a little stronger at a customer's house than it would be here, but this will work just fine. I have confidence that this will hold up anything we can throw at it tomorrow. I'm gonna snug this down just a little bit. And now I can see that my silicone is starting to squeeze out. Here I am going to need a little bit of a shim to put in here. And I think I'm 1 clamp short from what I wanted to have. But that's okay. Would you run out there and get me 1 more clamp from Sammy? So all I'm doing here, guys, is I made my hole a little too far back on this. So I'm going to integrate a piece of shim here. If this happens to you out on the install, you can do the same thing. Put a piece of shim in here. It basically just adds an extension to your clamp. And you just tighten it down to that shim and it holds it right into place. One of these. If you see right here, I put my hole too far back so my clamp's not hitting it. So all I did was broke off a thick piece of shim on the back, pop that right in there. It actually extends my sink lip or my clamp out, however you want to look at it. Pop that clamp in there, tap it down. Snug it down. I've also drilled a hole in the back here, but I am a clamp short, so I sent one of my guys out there to go get me another sink clamp. While he's getting that, we're just going to go around here and tighten up our other clamps. That one's nice and snug. Thanks, sir. So we're going to take this one and put it in the back. Normally on the job site, we wouldn't put one in the back like this. I've got to come out of this apron, guys. There ain't no point in having it now that I ain't drilling. So on the job site, we don't put one in the back because when you put a faucet in here, all your faucets got nuts that go around it. And those nuts will grab the back lip of that sink. So you don't need a clip back here. All I do is put 2 on each side, put the block of wood in the front, and then the faucet holds the back of it tight. But since we're not putting a faucet on this, like I said, I have every confidence it's going to hold up, but I want to give myself the best chance possible here. That one kind of twisted a little weird, but I think it's still working. Now I'm going to snug these other ones up pretty good. All right, all those are very tight now. And if you can see on the camera, the silicone is starting to squeeze out the sides here. which is what you want to happen. That means you got a good bead all the way around it. I'm just going to wipe that with my finger. I'm going to leave this in the shop today. I've still got an install to go to. It's been a rough morning, rough couple days. We quality control everything here, and we've caught a few things on the quality control process that's kind of put us behind a little bit, but better to catch it here and get it taken care of rather than get out in the field and have to take care of it there. Or even worse than that, get out in the field and the customer notice and let you know you've got to take care of it there. That's not what you want. It's not squeezing out as much on this side, but it's fine. I think I've probably got a good bead in there. So we're connected here. We got a lot of stability there. It's not moving at all when I shake it. In our contract, we tell customers not to hook up their sink for 24 hours. But if they're in a hurry, I'll tell them, you know, we put our clamps and we put wood in there. If you really need your sink hooked up, it's on you if you move it. But I think that the clips will hold it in place. As long as you're not torquing down with a 3-foot long crescent wrench or set of channel locks or something like that, you'll be okay. So I'm just going to push this to the side. We got it set up. We've got silicone on it. The silicone's probably pushing through to the inside also. We've got our 6 clamps. And tomorrow, first off, I'm going to stand in it, and hopefully I won't fall through. If I don't fall through, I'm going to pull the clips off, stand in it. If I don't fall through then, I've got a couple 70-pound dumbbells and a couple 65-pound dumbbells, a couple 45-pound plates. And then if it still don't fall with all that, we're gonna start stacking granite on top of it and see how far we can go. I find it hard to believe that anybody's pickled vegetables, cucumbers, beans, whatever, and a tub full of water is gonna weigh more than my dumbbells and plates and myself. So anyways, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. So I just went and got my ratchet and I took our clamps out, all 6 of them. And I'm about to stand back in this thing. You can probably see the nervousness in my eyes when I stood in it with the clamps. Not because of the sink or any of that. I don't like heights, not at all. And this ain't good for me. So I'm gonna get in this. Ain't nothing but silicone holding it up now. So hopefully the Lord will watch over me and everything will be all right. But I got my doubts that everything's gonna be all right. I'm confident in the strength of silicone, or I wouldn't be standing in it, but you never know what'll happen. So, all right, I'm up on this bad boy now. I'm gonna ease down into this. All right, you got me, Gary. I'm gonna take my hands off so that people can see. I'm a little nervous. Sit on my butt here. That way if I fall, I just fall on my butt. But I'm good. Everybody see? So this thing is holding me up with just silicone. I'm set up so if I fall, I just fall on my butt. But we're good. I don't know if you want to get underneath so show us no clamps holding it. But it's not going to go, it's just common sense keeping me from being stupid about it. Plus, the company will be in trouble if I get hurt. So, now you see me, 191.8 pounds. So, now I'm going to get something soft to put in this thing so I don't totally destroy the sink, and I'm going to go get our weights and put in it without any clips and see how long it holds up. This stuff's strong. So, I think my 191.8 pounds would probably be enough for however much water you put in a sink and any dishes or food you're going to can or whatever. But I want to see how much we can put in here. So we've got weights here. We got 275s here, we got 260s here, and then I got 445 plates over there. So we're gonna start stacking them in. I really don't want to ruin my sink, but it might happen, and it's a good sacrifice for the video if that happens. I've put a apron in here to kind of protect my sink a little bit, so we'll see. I'm gonna start out with the 75s. I'm gonna watch my toes. Math should tell me that I'm all right till I get up to 190 or so. My prediction is it holds all the dumbbells and the plates, and then we're gonna have to probably take shims and everything else and beat it apart, but I've been wrong before, so let's see what happens. Ooh, 75. There's 175 in. 175, not 175. So, there's another 75 pounder in there. So that's my 150 right there. We're gonna put a 60. It should put it over my weight limit. That's correct, right? 150 plus 60, that's 210. 210 in there right now. Another 60 is 270 in there. So we got 270 pounds. I'm gonna adjust this a little bit. Try not to hurt myself. Remember, this is no clips, just the silicone holding it. So we're at 210 right now. Put this on here, that'll make us 255. 255. This put us at 300. Put us at 345. Uh, 390. We're at 390 pounds. Nothing but 100% clear silicone holding us up. The clips have been pulled out. I find it hard to believe that anybody's going to be putting any more weight than that in any sink whatsoever. Like I said, when we mount them, we put 2 clips on each side, piece of wood in the front, and then the faucet holds it in the back. You see my little wood pieces here? That's just because I had the holes too far back. They're not holding anything. I can't get that one off because it's silicone to it. But anyways, you see there just was in there spacers. So it's a lot of weight in that sink. So what I'm gonna do now is pull all this out and get my blade and some shims, and I'm gonna beat this sink out of here and show you how hard it is and how strong silicone is. So we'll be back with that. So the sink didn't fall with our 450 pound steel weights in there. So now I'm going to show you how we actually take them off on a job site if we've got to remove a sink and replace it or anything like that, which it doesn't happen a lot, but whatever does happen to you, so you better pray to God you don't end up having to take one of mine out because it's a pain in the butt. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this razor knife and I'm going to cut around the lip and try to get me some access. I've cleaned off a couple putty knives that I'm going to hammer in there. And then I brought a bunch of shims I'm going to hammer in there. So it's basically a hard, sweaty job. So we're going to get started. You always want to try to not damage the sink when you're doing this. And like I told you before, and I keep saying it, this sink is not the right sink for this hole. But I wanted to be able to do a video without spending the labor or material to do it for the actual sink and stuff. So it's so tight I can't even hardly get my razor knife in there. So what I'm going to try to do now is beat one of these up in here. A lot of times what happens is you either break the top or you break the sink. Now I finally got some access in there. So now that's in there. So now I can start working some shims in behind this. And normally once you get some stuff separated, it gets a little easier from that point, but ain't nothing about taking these things apart easy, I tell you that right now. All right, I'm gonna see if I can pound a shim in there. Probably not. Another putty knife. And you can also hear the silicone start to give once you start making some progress. It's so hard to get anything in there. Now we're getting somewhere. So you want to work these shims around so you don't break or damage the countertop or the sink. So that's why we work our way around. Pull this out and replace it with a shim. Do the same thing here. Now we're getting some action. Now I may be able to cut it and push it down. So this worked out a little better than I thought it would. So we getting somewhere now. And so there we go. As you see, there was nothing but, as you can see, it was that strong and the silicone wasn't even fully dried all the way around. Wow. I just think if we'd have left that a couple days, I tell the customers to wait 24 hours before they hook up any plumbing. This was probably, I would say, 30 hours setting. So the 450 pounds held up to it. Like I said, with this not being the correct hole for the sink, we didn't have complete coverage. And this is the silicone underneath here. You can see it's still on the top here, which I would say it's 80% dry. You can see there was nothing crazy or special I had in it. It's just, that's the strength of silicone. And you know, Gary and I was just sitting here talking, what would our weight range be for silicone and clips that were in there? And man, I would think it would be in probably a couple thousand pounds. It's just unreal. And once you get your countertops onto your cabinets and shimmed up and secured, basically your countertops and your cabinets are holding all the weight. I really don't see how a sink should ever fall, give way if it's done properly. There are companies that don't do it properly and you'll have a callbacks, and with sagging. The main problem is they don't put a bar or anything in the front, and what happens is all that weight over time will push on that front and they'll get a little sag right here. I've seen people come from different companies that I've hired do that. I'm like, no. Every sink you mount, you put a piece of wood, some type of bracket in the front, and then you'll never have that problem. So we have never had a callback in the year and a half that I've opened the doors here over a sink falling, and I don't foresee that we ever will. So this is the video on how strong an undermount sink is with silicone and clips. I hope you learned something from it. I hope your confidence level is higher if you have an undermount sink, especially if I'm the one that put it in for you. And for those of you who are thinking about getting granite in the future and are on the ropes on whether you should get a drop-in or an undermount, I say go with an undermount. They're a cleaner look. You don't have to worry about wiping around the lip of a drop-in sink, and as you can see, they are just as strong as any drop-in sink ever thought about being. So remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.